What's up, everyone? Today I'm going to do a review of Hideo Kojima's new studio, which is Kojima Productions. I'm going to be talking a little bit about Metal Gear Solid 5 and about his E3 presentation and his new game he's working on, which is called Death Stranding. So that was just a picture of Hideo Kojima's new logo, which looks like a skull mask of some sort encased in some kind of space-looking, sci-fi-looking, Spartan-esque suit. He later, in the spring of 2016, just about a month ago, revealed this image, which is the full body suit. Kojima said it's kind of serves as a mascot of sorts to the new production studios. In interviews around E3, he said that when asked, who exactly is the character inside the suit, Kojima's response was, "We all are. I am. You are the gamer. I am the game maker. We all are Ludence, which is the name of this character." And it kind of was vaguely familiar to us Metal Gear Solid fans because this is kind of what he did in 2013 during the GDC conference. He released a trailer of The Phantom Pain, and in the trailer, in the very first beginning of it, it shows Kaz, and it shows the scene where he looks over at Venom Snake and he says, uh, what about him? And so when asked at GDC conference, I think that even the same guy from Game Trailers announced or asked the question. He said, well, who are you talking about in that character? Who is Kaz talking about? What about him? Who is that person? And Kojima, replied, well, that person is me. It's me, the game creator. It's you, the player. In a very vague kind of way, he answered it the same way, which is kind of interesting because it was later revealed that character, when asked, what about him? That's actually who we were playing as in the Phantom Pain, and that was actually kept a secret until just about the ending, right about the ending of the game. So this just brings up a bunch of new questions. Is this new character Ludence? Is he actually going to be in Kojima's new game? Although Kojima, when asked, he specifically stated that Ludence would not be in the Death Stranding video game. He would not be related to it. That he was just a mascot. But given how he has been misleading with his marketing campaigns before, it leaves lots of room for the imagination to speculate. So I want to talk about now what the term Ludence means, or Ludens, and what kind of context Kojima is using it, and what it actually means to his new game, Death Stranding. So basically, a Luden is a humanoid. It's a fictional humanoid race in a series of books called the Noon Universe series, created by the brothers Boris and Arkady Strugatsky. Ludens appear principally in the novel The Time Wanderers, which is, out of the 10 books, the 10th and final one. The name Luden is possibly a reference to a Homo Ludens, a 1938 book by Jonathan Huizinga, and the Russian term Ludai, meaning people. The term Luden is also an anagram to Nilud, meaning inhuman in Russian. So these Ludens characters don't appear until the last book in the series, which is called The Time Wanderers. And the summary of that book is basically this. Principal characters are Maximum Kammermir and Toivio Glumov, both working for an organization which investigates unexplained events. Their investigation of a series of events leads them to believe that they are witness to a new action by the Wanderers. After much investigation, the UEs are discovered to be the work of a secret society called the Ludens. They claim to have chosen this name for themselves as a derivative of the Russian word Ludai, humans, people, with several semi-jocular allusions such as the popular Latin phrase Homo Ludens, the plain man, and an anagram of the Russian word Niludai, meaning inhuman people, as they believe they are regarded to by some ordinary humans. These Ludens are both born human but possess latent mental powers far beyond those of normal humans. They view themselves as a distinct race and claim to have different interests from humanity at large, in some instances claiming to be above traditional human morality. The Ludens routinely conduct experiments on humans and alter their minds in order to further their own means. Kamimir and Glumov's investigation unmasks the Ludens, and they are made public in what would later become known as the Great Revelation. It turns out that Glumov possesses this capacity, and now must decide whether or not to become a Luden himself. He at first states that to join the Ludens would be a betrayal of his family, friends, and human civilization. But he decides to try it out, if only to serve as humanity's ambassador with them. Soon, all contacts with Glumov are lost, Kamimir hypothesizing that he just forgot about us now. Indeed, the story is told as Maxim's memoir, his sole intent in writing it being to clear up the story of Glumov. So this starts to get really interesting from here. It seems, in my opinion, that Kojima is using this kind of plot from these 1980s sci-fi novels, and these Ludens is kind of like a plot for his new game. Because in a way, in this trailer, Death Stranding, when you see those 5 humanoids floating in the air, it's very similar to how they're described here in the plot summary of the Time Wanderers. They're described as these beings who have ascended, the Homo sapiens, basically, and are the next evolution of mankind. Yet their interests and who they are still pretty mysterious, and we don't really know as humans what their full intent is, or if they even have our best interest in mind. As they appear to be the next evolution of mankind, in a sense. And I think Kojima's kind of using this, which it's really interesting, but he may be using it as kind of like a setting for his new game. Another thing I want to talk about in relation to the Death Stranding trailer is the phenomenon known as cetacean stranding. In the trailer you see a lot of dead sea life just washed up on the beach, and you see whales, crabs, fish just kind of all laying there dead. And this is known as a cetacean stranding. So it's kind of interesting how Kojima is using the word stranding in the title of his game, also correlated with the word death, which is basically kind of almost repetitive in describing what a cetacean stranding is. I'll just read right here what the wiki definition of a cetacean stranding is. It's a phenomenon in which beached whales and other sea mammals often die due to dehydration, collapsing under their own weight, or to drowning when high tides cover their blowhole. Several explanations of the strandings have been proposed, although multiple strandings in one place are rare. It's hard to kind of gather evidence on how these specific phenomena occur in nature. Kojima has mentioned several times about his new game, just recently in the past few days, and he's done some interviews with some magazines. He said that the game's themes will be to deal with that of human evolution. People were excited to see Norman Reedus back in a Hideo Kojima project. It was about a year ago, or maybe 2, that they announced that they were going to be working on the new Silent Hills reboot. Kojima was supposed to be working with Guillermo del Toro, and it was supposed to be starring Norman Reedus, but it got canceled due to Konami and kind of internal conflicts. But now that Hideo Kojima has his own company, he said that he's going to again be working with Norman Reedus, and they just recently, in the past few months, did the mocap, and Kojima himself posted a bunch of pictures on his Twitter page about just shows all the pictures of the making of the trailer of Death Stranding that he revealed at E3. He said that it was about 2 months of work, and that's about all they've made so far. He also said in interviews that he's shopping around for game engines, that they've narrowed it down to actually 2 engines, that they built the trailer with one of the engines, but the other one they're still thinking about using. So it's to be announced which game engine he'll specifically use, but it is known now, as of now, that he's down to about 2 of them. Starts off with a poem from the famous poet William Blake, and it goes like this: "To see a world in a grain of sand, and a heaven in a wildflower, hold infinity in the palm of your hand, and eternity for an hour." Now this could mean several things in relation to the trailer. The concept art that Kojima's put up, and even the term Ludence or the name Ludence. Um, in relation to all of that, I think what the poem means in context of the game is that, life can be cherished in even the smallest universes of things. And there's kind of a sense there of kind of something admiring the beauty in a universe that is a lot smaller than itself, like in the palm of one's hand, almost like a god. Um, Kojima recently reviewed a lot more information about his new video game Death Stranding that he's working on. In recent interviews he's done with magazines like Wired and other people at E3. But it was kind of cool. He had this to say about Death Stranding. About somebody asked what the heck it was. He says, "It's only a teaser. You can see all the crabs, the whales, all the things. They all have umbilical cords. Norman, as he stands up, it's a very important part, this connection. That's the key word. What people are playing today in open world action games or linear action games, it will compare naturally to them. It will feel familiar, but after an hour of two of playing, you will start to feel something different, something new that you haven't played. The stories about connections that you call strands in psychology, how people are connected." When asked about how does that affect the gameplay, Kojima responded, "There's an author that I'm a huge fan of named Kobo Abe. Among his work is the novel called The Rope. He mentions that the first tool that humanity invented was the stick, to keep away bad things. Right now, looking at today's online games, you see a lot of sticks, pistols, weapons, things that are the equivalent of the first tool. Abe, in his novel, mentions that after the stick, mankind invented something that keeps things that are important close to you, the rope. In Death Stranding, there will be the equivalent of sticks, but also I want to tie people together with the equivalent of ropes." So this is really interesting that I thought he had to say, because it's kind of a really cool philosophy to take when making a new game, and I'm excited to see what he's going to do with it. When asked if it's kind of a multiplayer game, he simply said it's not. He says it's a new system. He says it's not as if today you have online gameplay where you fight with guns and I'm swapping them for ropes. So it seems that he'll still have he calls sticks, what he uses the metaphor sticks as for weapons. He'll still have that in his game. So guns, I'm assuming. He also had to say this about the notion of death in video games and the importance of the word death in the title of Death Stranding. He said that in arcade games you have this notion of dying, putting another chord in and coming back. He says that hasn't changed in the 35 years that I've been making games. In this game, life and death will be part of that, but I want to give it a different twist to that notion. It almost sounds like Kojima's trying to approach gaming in new ways that he hasn't before, using different aspects of gameplay like dying and restarting, looking at it differently and maybe using it differently, um, which I think is really interesting. And in a way, he's talking about how it's going to be multiplayer and online. It only can remind me of Dark Souls, and how in Dark Souls you have this relation to different online characters, people who are playing at the same time, how you can see kind of their shadow, their ghost, which is them playing in real time, but you can't really interact with it. Or there's other things where you can interact with them, which kind of makes for just a very unique world. And I've always been a fan of the Soul series, as you can check on my channel. Um, but I think he's going to start to use that in his games, maybe in a weird way, like the trailer in the Death Stranding trailer, how the character Norman Reedus was attached to an infant. Maybe in some way he's going to have this connection, like a rope, that will attach gamers to each other, or maybe the game to and the gamer to themselves, in a sort of life and death cycle where dying has more importance than just putting another quarter in and restarting it, so to speak. When taken all at face value, it's really exciting and it's really interesting to hear and to see Hideo Kojima, just this beloved game creator of this critically acclaimed series, which is the Metal Gear Solid series. Talk about a brand new game, a brand new engine he's going to work on, new gaming aspects. It's really cool. He also said recently that he enjoys the freedom that Konami has always forced him to kind of put out a Metal Gear game. That he's actually wanted to do different IPs all along, but Konami was actually the ones who were forcing him to stick and milk the Metal Gear franchise, which I'm not saying is a bad idea given what a great game the Phantom Pain turned out to be. But in given respects to that, I think it's going to be very exciting to see what Kojima can do from here and where he can go artistically and creatively in this industry, which is pretty amazing consider how big of an impact he's made on it already. So that basically wraps up this video, which is kind of part one to a several part video I'm making, which is going to be the analysis of Kojima Productions, Hideo Kojima's new studio, which is free from Konami, and also his new game he just announced at E3 2016, which is called Death Stranding. So I'm very excited, as are a lot of Metal Gear Solid fans, to hear that Hideo Kojima is back. He just said he's about to start full production on Death Stranding after they choose the game engine in which he wants to make the game in. So it's very exciting news. Just keep in touch with my channel. I'll keep you updated on everything I hear from Hideo Kojima and his new video game, Death Stranding. So thanks for checking out my channel, guys. Thanks for checking out my video. Leave a like, subscribe if you liked it, and if you want to see more. Always leave comments. Well, thanks, guys. Stay tuned for part 2. Peace.